Hello, everybody. We are live at Southern National Motorsports Park following the 2024 edition of the Thanksgiving Classic. My name's Chase Folsom. I'm with Michael Massie, and I just learned he's never watched Polar Express. We watched a 250 lap, awesome late model stock car race tonight, and we had a really surprise winner. Parker Eatmon picks up the biggest win of his career, $15,000, and a really cool Thanksgiving Classic trophy.
Yeah, Parker came out of nowhere. I mean, we thought it was going to be, Cade Brown looked like he was going to be a contender. Jake Boltman, just all these guys, all these heavy hitters, and then Parker Eatmon comes out of nowhere. Fresh tires at the end. And what did they do when they gave him the fresh tires? They let him eat, man.
He ran last for a good portion of the race. I think he said first 100 laps or so, he was dead last, looked dead in the water. I mean, I don't know about you. I didn't really think anything of him back there. And then all of a sudden, the final 75 laps, they put those tires on it. It was like he shot out of a cannon, and we were like, whoa, where did he come from? Some shades of Kevin Harvick. He moved Cade Brown out of the way. That was kind of intense coming off turn 4. They were both sideways. And he tracked down Dylan Newsom like it was nothing, passed him like he was standing still, and held on over those final restarts. But the guys that finished second, Jake Bowman and Doug Barnes, their cars looked straight out of a junkyard. I'll start with Bowman. The hood was flying up on his number 71, and he said after the race he couldn't see anything, actually. Said he couldn't see anything at all. He was running the track by following the white lines that we're standing over right here. He had no clue where Parker was in relation to him, didn't know where the wall was. But he managed to bring it home second, and then you talked to Doug Barnes afterwards. We didn't know where he came from either.
Well, we saw where he was, and that was up by the turn 4 wall with the entire right side of his car missing, pretty much. The thing looked like a modified on the right side, and it seemed like he was out of it. But once again, they gave him some fresh tires. He was 20th. He was a lap down. All of a sudden, he gets his lap back. He said the end was like playing a NASCAR video game on rookie mode, where he's just flying through the field. I mean, he got underneath Cade Brown in the final corner to beat him to the line for third place, last step on the podium. Doug was all smiles. I mean, of course, he'd rather have a win, but that was a pretty incredible comeback.
Yeah, for a guy like Doug who sat on the couch most of the year, didn't do much of any racing, and then pulled a car out of the shop for the last couple races of the year and goes and runs second in the South Carolina 400 and third at the Thanksgiving Classic. That's two of the most stacked late model stock car fields you're going to get all year long. So huge accomplishment for Doug Barnes. Another thing that happened tonight was kind of the ending of a chapter in the career of Brendan Queen. For all intents and purposes, was his final race as a full-time late model stock car driver for Lee Pulliam. It's been a wild ride, a really successful ride for Brendan over the past couple years. They've had a lot of success. How are you going to remember his time with Lee in a late model?
Oh, I remember it as just being like this like splash that kind of just took over the late model scene. He got so many fans and people buying the merch and people talking about we saw him on the grid before the race, and how many just kids came up to him wanting to meet him, get his autograph, take a picture with him. He's really become kind of one of the faces, maybe not the face, because maybe Carson Quaffel's up there too, but like one of the faces of late model racing in this country. And let's just say he ain't leaving because he got fired or anything. Like, he's got bigger and better things on the horizon, and it'll be really cool to see what he does in the future.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm pretty sure he did Waffle House a huge favor. I think he got them like a significant number of sales that they didn't have before he started going there after race wins. So your favorite waffle company can thank Brendan Queen. I talked to him after the race and, got his thoughts on what the last 2 years have been like, and he was really emotional. And it was one of those moments where you realize how much it means for a driver like him in the late model world who, at times probably never thought he was going to get a chance. And this 2 years with Lee Pulliam has put him on the map and given him the opportunity that we will find out very soon publicly. I talked to Lee Pulliam as well, and he may or may not have accidentally told us what's going on. So you guys will find out shortly. Big things in store for Butterbean. And Lee, too. Just really appreciative of the friendship that they've built. And I'm sure we will see Brendan back in a late model in the near future. Before we get out of here, this is a bookend on the late model stock car season for 2024. If you had a moment that stands out to you from this season, what would it be?
Oh, for me, 3 wide finish at Langley. That was awesome. I mean, how you gonna beat that right there?
That was a good one. You were at that race, correct?
Yes, I was. So I'm a little partial to it because I was standing like 100 yards away from it. So yeah, that was a really cool. Connor Hall got the win, and yeah, it was just a really exciting moment. And just, I mean, on top of that, just the Connor Hall Butterbean rivalry, kind of seeing that come to more of a national stage. I saw it back when it was just like a Langley thing in Hampton, Virginia, and to see now it's kind of like that was like the rivalry in the Cars Tour. So that was really cool as well to watch that progress.
And it came down to them in the final couple races of the Cars Tour season. Butterbean prevails with the championship. Connor Hall, that wasn't the only feathers he ruffled. Funny enough, his now teammate at Junior Motorsports, Carson Quapple, one that stands out to me is the Caraway race. I was at that one for our coverage of the Cars Tour. That battle between Brent Cruz and Carson Quapple, Connor Hall, and William Byron actually made his one-off Cars Tour start. They were throwing haymakers at each other, knocking each other out of the way. Never seen Carson Quapple that mad in my life. And now they're teammates. And then, for the good, there's always bad, right? And we've seen so many of the tire issues this year. It plagued them again here tonight. Do you think we'll see more of that in 2025?
I mean, I hope not. I hope that, maybe behind the scenes where some of the drivers and maybe even like the ownership group and all that are kind of being, vocal about tire problems that we had, and that they're working with it. Like Hoosier, and they're working on improving these tires. So I am going to be optimistic for a change. I want to say, oh, it's going to be bad, but I will give them a chance. Okay.
I hope so, just because we switched from the ST2 tires that the Cars Tour was running to the F45s, for those that don't know, which were the traditional tires of all of late model stock car racing, and we've had the same problems. This issue came up last week at Florence for the 400. It came up again here tonight. Butterbean had a bad set of tires. It's kind of why they weren't a factor tonight. So it's not just a specific tire problem. It's clearly a company problem, and I hope for the sake of late model racing they figure it out for next year. Any final thoughts?
It's been a pleasure to finally step up and Frontstretch to start covering late model, Grassroots, Cars Tour, all of that this year. It's stuff that I've been wanting to cover for a while. I've always been a just huge lover, a supporter of this kind of racing, and grew up watching it. So thank you guys for following along and making it possible for us to do this.
Absolutely. I'm going to second that. To each and every one of you that has followed along with every interview and video, question of the week, fan of the week, article, you name it, for our short track coverage for Frontstretch this year, we thank you guys, because without you guys, we wouldn't be allowed to do this anymore. But instead, we've got some big stuff in store for you next year. We'll be back covering the Cars Tour again, and hopefully some other stuff that you guys will find out at a later date. That's it for me. Just grateful for the opportunity as always. Grateful to work with people like Michael Massie, and grateful for all of you guys that tune in and watch this stuff every week. That's going to do it for us. We have one more race for Frontstretch's short track coverage this year. We will be at the Snowball Derby next week in Pensacola, Florida, so be on the lookout for coverage of that. For Michael Massie, I've been Chase Folsom. Good night from Southern National Motorsports Park. Hey race fans, I'm Chase Folsom with Frontstretch.com. If you enjoyed the short track video you just watched, please be sure to subscribe to Frontstretch Grassroots on YouTube for more Cars Tour, ARCA, and other grassroots racing content. Check out Frontstretch.com for all your racing needs.